Before we get started, I want to ask, are there any mics in the audience? Raise your hand if you're a mic.
Isn't a name?
Like, no mics?
Like Michael?
Okay, good. I just want to do a quick mic check. I'm Alan from Game Grooves. Yes. Give me all your hate. I want it. No, for real. I hope everybody's having a great MAGFest. I really appreciate everybody showing up. I know there's a lot of amazing things going on all night long. So the fact that you're all here to learn a little bit about how to make a VGM cover album is amazing. So before I ramble too much, I want to do a quick introduction. You probably know most of the people to my right, but just in case you don't, why don't we do some quick introductions? Lacey.
Okay. Hi, my name is Lacey Johnson. I'm a VGM cover artist, and I make all genres of pretty much synth-based work of all kinds of games.
Hi, I'm Mustin. I head the longest running video game music arrangement label. I've produced 38 albums, and I also co-founded the One Ups, which played their 20-year anniversary show last night. And, thank you. And I also like long walks on the beach.
My name is Ro Panaganti. I've been making video game music and albums since 2011. So I've got, I think, 14 or 15 of my own video game albums. I've worked with groups like Game Lark, Game Grooves, Materia Collective, Pixel Mixers, and I really like Sound Dropping Cooking. I don't know, go.
Shout out to Sound Drop for sponsoring this.
Hello, my name is Robbie Duguay. Hi.
Hi, Robbie.
I'm a game composer in real life, but partway through my game composing career, I discovered the VGM community, and I am a founding member of the Game Brass, which we had our inaugural main stage show today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tara C Music. I just want to say I'm wearing the perfect shirt today.
Yeah.
I'm a cover musician on YouTube. I mainly do like string and vocal arrangements that blend a little bit of electronic as well. So
Cool. Yeah, that shirt's very on point for tonight. Asking, will it license? But in all seriousness, actually, if we did a panel very similar to this for an online event called VGM Together. So if anybody caught that, this is kind of a continuation. Yeah, must have caught it. I think a lot of people here caught it. We learned from that rather than go through the whole how to make an album process, we really want to focus on the areas that give people the most trouble. Can anyone guess what area specifically gives people a lot of trouble when it comes to video game music? Oh my God, you knew it, yeah. What's that? Licensing, yeah, sorry, I'm a little loud. Licensing, or how I learned to stop worrying and love the copyright. So here you can see, the basic gist is we're gonna go through deep dive on licensing because that's the thing that people ask the most, and for good reason. If you're trying to release a video game cover album and you wanna do it legally, which is its own set of rules, right? These are the rules that they're gonna help you, hopefully. Some of you probably have released albums already, some of you might be thinking about it, but hopefully this slideshow will help you, and then also we have some experts here that can help you. And at the end, we're gonna do Q&A. So my goal is to try and get through the licensing, then we can get to Q&A, and then we can just have fun. But if you have a question in the middle, you can always just shout it out, but we will have a specific Q&A section if you wanna wait until the end. So, you all ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Sync versus mechanical. We're gonna be focusing on this. This is a fun one. Okay, I'm not gonna read all of that, but you can see there's a very lengthy explanation that I pulled directly from Easy Song, so don't tell anybody. Sync licensing, basically, we're not gonna talk about because it is a pain. And more or less, a lot of the times when we're making video covers on YouTube, it's in a gray area, right? Like we're doing these things, most of the time it's not an issue, but if you're putting out like a physical album or a digital album, it's okay. Most of the time you're okay to put up a video or to preview or even put up the tracks. But we really want to focus on mechanical licenses, okay? Which It's a little deceiving because a lot of times mechanical licenses, we're talking about digital products, right? Like interactive streams or digital downloads, or in some cases, physicals like CDs and cassettes. So, again, it's a lengthy explanation. That's what we're going to be focusing on. We're moving through the slideshow really quickly, so that's good. And these are the other types of licensing, which I'm not going to spend a lot of time on. I just wanted to let people know that there are other types of licensing, especially since I've been doing this for 7 years, 8 years, and I swear I'm learning more about it every day. So performance licensing is like super critical if you're doing like live arrangements and that kind of thing. But yeah, just do some homework when you get home. Okay, so what is licensable?
Tara?
Ask your shirt.
Do you want me to kind of go over the slides? I'm more than happy to do that.
These are the three things you ideally need, which you probably knew at least two of these. You need an official commercial release. You need a release in the United States and official representation in the United States. That's kind of a newish one that I didn't know about until somewhat recently. So, does that make sense, everybody? Anybody? You can stop me if you have questions.
I'm going to add really quickly. I think the wording is a phonographic recording release. So so not like a video game release, like a CD release.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
CD, Spotify, vinyl,
Yes.
cassette tape.
It has to be a separate audio track or
Right.
soundtrack from the game itself. Yeah.
What does representation mean? It means that they have some sort of house here, like, what is that? What is the one? Square is the Columbia Music?
Columbia Records.
Columbia Records. Like somebody are affiliated with someone. So Square Enix is
Publisher.
affiliated with them. So hit up Final Fantasy.
I guess in the same regard, and I don't want to like distract from the simplicity of the slide, but a lot of people will go online and they'll see they can buy from American computers on an American Amazon site. That one.
Yeah.
Like, let's say the Xenoblade Chronicles soundtrack, or Breath of the Wild, the huge one, the little blue one. I don't have it. It looks nice. But, that doesn't give it the guarantee it's licensable. Are we having fun?
All right, we'll get to that because we're going to
But-
break it down into each of these
Different
points.
misnomers we'll talk about.
Yeah, we got a number of slides. Okay. Look at this beautiful picture here. An official commercial release. So there's this wonderful tool, which I hope you know about. If you don't, it's amazing. Check it out. It's called VGMDB, which stands for Video Game Music Database. And it is the easiest way to check for an official commercial release. Show of hands on this panel. Who has used VGMDB before? And out
All the
crowd,
time.
who's used VGMDB? If you are part of VGMDB, thank you. I know they're out there. I know they
There's
exist.
a few people
I don't know
who are
who
in-
runs it,
But community.
they do a great job. And what you see right there is I got an arrow pointing to the classification. You want to look for original soundtrack because especially with earlier records from like, I don't know, early 2000s through mid 2010s, a lot of times you'll see like Dujin. I don't know. That's not how you say it, but whatever. It's not an original soundtrack. A lot of it can be fan soundtrack. So you got to be careful when you look for that. But I chose Mario Kart 64 because it's a beautiful picture, okay? So that's what you're looking for. That's the first step.
The best
Yes.
picture is the most licensed.
This is a subliminal message for everybody here. Make a Mario Kart cover album. Okay? You can also search on Apple Music or Bandcamp. With Apple Music, you just want to make sure that it's the official publishing company. So like Game Freak, for instance, there's a lot of Pokemon albums on Apple Music. I don't think that they're on Spotify. So it's a little tricky. You can't just look on one platform. Sometimes you have to do some digging. I believe somebody had a point that they wanted to make for this slide.
Yes. So yeah, for Spotify, there's like people are technically able to upload their own stuff to Spotify, and that's where things get a little tricky. So yeah, definitely double check to make sure that's an official release. I personally always check Apple Music or iTunes over Spotify because of those issues with Spotify. So that's what I would recommend is preferably checking there instead. But yeah,
And
Bandcamp's also another good one.
The VGM database is so good because in 2007, Konami put out a Contra soundtrack. And then they took it off. But it came out, so
Yeah.
you can still use it.
Yeah.
Wait, what was it?
I was talking to them.
I also had a specific example of this happening. So I was doing a Persona 3 track, and there's a fan upload, and now Atlas has uploaded it to Spotify, but before that, someone uploaded the entire Persona 3 soundtrack to Spotify unofficially. And I used that at the time as like, oh, look, it's up here. And then when it was rejected, I was like, why? And they were like, this isn't official. I went, oh, wow, okay. And it had the official art, everything. And then I looked on Apple Music and the official one was there, but not on Spotify. Now both are, but it was rejected once and I was able to find an actual release, and through Sounddrop, people are awesome, and then we got it up. So do your homework, really. The platforms are not all the same at all.
Yes. Yeah. It's a crafty war that we wage with VGM. Especially Nintendo.
It's poetic.
But anyways, also a side note, Bandcamp, you can find a lot of great indie soundtracks on Bandcamp that are official releases. I know Lena Raine has a lot of her soundtracks. Jake Kaufman, Shovel Knight, hint, hint,
Darren Korb.
has a, yeah. So anyways, that's the point. Just, if you can't find it on one platform, look for another one, and then make sure it's an official release.
You can also message people who have done this a lot.
Yes, yes.
I'm speaking because whenever I guess some other fine folks aren't messaged, I have answered this question and I'm happy to. So if you're wondering about licensing questions, and we'll talk about it throughout the slides.
We're not gonna lie to you, even though it'd be very easy.
Yeah, but you're always
Yeah,
welcome
of
to
course.
ask the community or the people who you were sending the music to. Even they've answered a lot of my questions about, hey, is this project viable before I start it? Right?
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Trust us. And lastly, this is a tricky one. Another tricky one. You can check the Easy Song licensing database, although I don't think that's what it's called. And also, I just realized this as I'm midway through the presentation. I am planning on somehow releasing this on the Game Groove's website, so you can kind of go here, check out this presentation for the information on here and the links. Game Grooves has a website at game-grooves.com. Subtle plug there. But anyways, this database will show you over 1,600,000 songs. The big note is this database includes tracks that have been submitted for licensing. Thank you, Terry, for clarifying that, and Robbie.
Yeah, I'll add really quick. Maybe don't use that so much compared to the other solutions, because working on A Link to the Brass with the Game Brass, we found that there were tracks that we were like, hey, look, it's right here. And they're like, yeah, no, we just have that listed for some reason. So we weren't able to, we had to find it another way, but we thought we had it. We had all their ID numbers and stuff, so just use that as your last step, I'd say.
Yes, that's like I've tried everything else. And you can, the other thing is, maybe I will get to that later, but I'll save that for later. There's another trick you can do with Easy Song. So, this is a really important rule, and I think Mustin kind of talked about this with Contra too. There must be an official commercial release in order for you to make a cover album. So, for instance, if you're a publisher, say Nintendo, and you have so many amazing soundtracks that you don't want the world to enjoy on their favorite platform, and you don't release it, that means that you can't legally release a cover album. Does that mean no one has ever released a cover album that is not legally licensable? No. We won't talk about companies that do that, but there are companies that do that. It's not Sounddrop. But that's why I said there, if the official soundtrack has never been released, you cannot legally license it. And there's some rule, what is it, I forget what it's called.
First use.
Thank you, Mustin. 20 years of knowledge right here. More than 20 years of knowledge. First use. So,
It's the worst handshake of my
Yeah.
life. I'm so
I just
sorry.
grabbed
Shaking
your
hands,
thumb
thank
and
you.
it's very uncomfortable.
that's the most important one. That is the very hard rule. Some of these other rules are a little bit like, you've got to check this one. If you don't see it, it's not happening. Okay, look, more graphics here. Another good tip to remember for licensing, right? Can everybody see those thumbs? See, there's a thumbs up and thumbs down.
You gotta.
The reason the one on the
Sign.
left has a thumbs up is because that was released in... Okay, everybody's awake. Great. What about the one on the right?
Name all the.
Actually, I like the cover art better on the one on the right, but it's not an American release. So, even though you have the same game, the same soundtrack, sort of, there are different tracks on those releases. You can't use one over the other. Okay? Ready?
Correct.
There is an exception to this rule. You're going to learn a lot of exceptions tonight, hopefully. If there's a non-US release that's available in music stores within the United States, then it can be eligible for licensing. That is let me make sure I'm saying this correctly. Sounddrop, I'm putting you on the spot. That is a direct quote from a Sounddrop representative. So that was what they explained to me. Look, we got thumbs up back there. Thank you, Sounddrop. Real heroes. Why don't you just come up here for the rest of the presentation? Yeah. Okay, you don't want to. Thank you. You can just do it, like an X if I'm not saying the right thing.
Watching your eyebrows.
This rule does not apply to imports. I know that's like the logical assumption, like, oh, great, I can import this from this wonderful, 8 CD Okami soundtrack from Japan. I mean, I think Okami actually is licensable, but point is, doesn't apply to imports, right?
Right.
Okay. Why the U.S.? I don't really know. I think most because we're releasing stuff through U.S. Because
I feel like that's the simplest answer.
Well, if you're releasing stuff through a U.S. distributor, then you have to follow U.S. copyright rules.
Said
So
1976.
that's why.
What we need is a Sounddrop company in every. We need a Sounddrop
Or someone make
branch in
the-
every country, and then that would solve the problem, right? Come on, Sounddrop.
I live in Canada, but we still release through the U.S., so it's...
What's that?
I live in Canada, but we still release music through a U.S. distributor, so it's...
Yeah, it doesn't matter what
Yeah.
country you're from. It's just where that
them.
distributor is located.
Yeah.
Again, that's why we need a Sounddrop in Japan. This is another exception. Another exception. On one occasion, I personally, Alan, have seen a soundtrack that was licensable through Sounddrop, but not through EasySong. And that was because the original rights holder needed to have official representation, but that's a very rare problem, right? I think you had said that you had another one. Did you have an experience with that, or was that Mustin?
I did.
No, it was
Okay, Mustin, go for it.
Couldn't get it licensed.
Couldn't get the licensing.
I don't know. It didn't make a sense, but I think, they didn't have representation. Someone wasn't there to do it, even though it was on the thing, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that I wanted to go up to Minnesota and kick those kids in the butt because they should have just given us the license.
You should do it.
Instead, maybe I will next.
That would have been the direct
When is that, in
approach.
April? I'll go
Yeah.
do. I'll do it in April.
Go kick some butt.
I
Easy
believe,
Song licensing is up. I think they're up in Minnesota or something.
yes. I actually don't think they are, but I believe the soundtrack that I saw this problem with was Genshin Impact. Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sounddrop, shout out to Sounddrop, they were able to get it through when this
Yeah,
artist
yeah,
tried
yeah.
to go through Easy Song for Bandcamp licenses, they were told no. So that's another exception.
Yep.
I hope everybody's paying attention because there's a lot of exceptions.
I am.
All right, we're about halfway through this slideshow. How's everybody feeling? Do we need another Jad joke or any mics in the audience for anybody that wasn't here in the beginning? Mics?
There is a mic.
There's a mic. There is a mic. Raise your hand if you're a mic. Any other mics? There's another mic. All right, great. We did another mic check. You missed the first mic check. This is the second mic check.
Good. Yeah.
Great.
So that's mic check 2?
Joke still bombs. I actually thought of that. I'm going
down.
to take a second and do this. I thought of that last night as I was falling asleep, and I was like, I got to do it. I got to do it for this panel. I may never get another chance.
So bad.
Yeah, I probably should have just gone to sleep and forgot it. All right, what isn't licensable? Going back. This is an important question. There's a lot that isn't licensable. All right, here are the 4 big ones. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sounddrop. Rusty, pay attention. No official OST release. We talked about that earlier, but I really want to emphasize that point. Okay? We're not trying to play it fast and loose like some people. Okay? Samples, no go. Derivative works, no go. Medleys, no go. We have a question in the back.
So for no official OST release, what if it's like you get this OST with a pre-order?
Great question.
That is a very good question. Yes.
So if there's no official OST release where you can buy it and it packs in with the daggum game, like Killer Instinct, Killer Cuts, that doesn't count because it's considered
Like
part
closure?
of the...
Closure or promo.
Yes, enclosure promo. But then they released it through the Nintendo Power magazine, and you could buy the actual CD, and then boom, get it.
Nintendo
Get
also
your,
loves
get
to
your
do
full
that.
gore. So yeah, good bring up.
That's a great question.
Bring
Thank you.
That third rule, that official or the representation.
The representation.
No, that has more to do with official. That's the first rule, with official release. Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna get back into the weeds here. Get ready. Get your weed whackers out. I'm sorry. It's 9 o'clock. Whatever. Licensing. We already talked about that. I'm not gonna. I underlined it, but you can see it. Okay. I don't want to beat this dead horse anymore. Okay. Samples. This should be kind of obvious. I mean, I'm not telling you you can't do it. I'm saying legally you have to have right there express written permission, which means you've got to find the rights holder and get them to give you permission, which in most cases is pretty much impossible, right? So that's why I say, in case you didn't know, Game Gurus releases cover albums pretty frequently. And I just tell all my artists up front, please don't put any samples in your songs because I don't want to have to lie to SoundDrop. I wouldn't want to do that, right? So I just say no samples because I don't feel like, I'm going to be able to go to Koji Kondo or Nintendo or whatever and say, hey, can we use this Mario power-up sound? They're going to say, who are you?
Yeah, because we're talking about qualifying for an automatic compulsory license, right? Not like you can go and get permission from whoever to do whatever you want, use a sample, do a derivative work, whatever. If it's like John Robert Matz and you go up to him and say, hey, John Robert Matz, I want to use a sample from Ambition. You go, great. Then great, you have express written permission and you can do whatever you want. But this is go to SoundDrop, get a mechanical license.
Correct. And then other note, sound fonts, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think this is wrong. Sound fonts are not typically considered samples, is what I've heard.
It's gone back and forth to where
Gone back and forth.
I've seen.
We're getting the SoundDrop thumbs up from the back.
SoundDrop's giving us a weak thumb. No, they're giving us 2 thumbs up. Okay. Oh, we're getting mixed signals now.
Cinemax guy burned really hard because he bought
Shoot,
all
I
of
forgot
it.
about that.
Created it from scratch.
Right, yeah.
But that's Nintendo, so that's
One area, I guess.
that's the Nintendo exception.
One safe tandem, I guess, there is if you say you love using samples, or even maybe you mocked up something with samples, and all of a sudden you message someone and say, hey, is this safe? And you realize, oh no, I can't use samples from a game that I didn't create myself. There are a lot of, and there's a growing number of people in the community especially, and many of them are wonderful to talk to, especially I've noticed in the electronic world, where they have really, really they've done the work on recreating sounds from games. They use different kind of sample libraries that are inspired. I have a chiptune SFC, I think it was like $40, and it sounds so close to Super Nintendo.
Is that the Plogue one?
Yes,
Yeah,
Plogue.
so Plogue is a company out of Montreal, wicked stuff. Also, shout out to Impact Soundworks.
Yep.
Another
Super audio
Local
card.
company, Baltimore.
Super audio card is amazing.
And again,
Love the
it's
Android
not the same thing, but you know that you're going to be safe doing it, and that you will truly have made 100% of what you're selling. So, if you already did it, it's
That's
hot
good.
swap
That's
it out.
Cool. Yeah, check out Impact Soundworks.
Hi, Andrew.
Okay, derivative works. This is another tricky one, okay? I'm not going to read the textbook definition, but this is a big one that kind of changed somewhat recently, where everybody loved adding vocals to non-vocal tracks. We all remember the wonderful, what was that Banjo-Kazooie album? There was a lot of lyrics on. I don't remember. But anyways, there's a lot of,
So many.
and it's wonderful. It's wonderful to add lyrics to non-vocal tracks. We all love doing it, but story time. I knew somebody that did this with a Kingdom Hearts lyric album. They're here at MAGFest, I won't shout them out. But they told me they put out the album, things were going well, people loved the album, and then a Disney lawyer contacted them and said, hello, you have released a derivative work without doing the proper licensing. And they said, oh, shit. We get like one F-bomb, so I'm saving it, but we can see shit. Oh, shit. Disney's contacting us. So you don't want to be in that situation. You could say, well, most of the time it's not a big problem, but when it's a problem, it's a big problem. So, again, you can get away with like oohs and ahs and some other vocal
Sometimes
stuff.
Latin.
You guys can provide the grade.
Historically, I actually had a huge plan to do Hindi versions of video game music, and because I learned all of this wonderful news, Alan mentioned earlier, if you ask the composer, and get express written permission, then yeah, you can work out something if you can work it out. So, yeah, it will unfortunately stop a lot of great creative projects into tracks, but I feel like there could be a whole panel on derivative works and their ethics. So it's just something to consider, and I know a lot of phenomenal artists live, of course, can do all these cool things, you know. But
Yes.
when it comes to releasing, it's different.
Yeah. I don't know if that's technically true, but mashups are kind of the same thing where you have 2 or 3 melodies intertwining. That kind of falls under melodies a little bit too. Or this last one's interesting. I've only seen it once or twice. Significantly altering the main composition of a track. So I had an artist who submitted a track for VGM Con Album Jam. Shout out to VGM Con. VGM Con folks, wonderful people. But I actually run their charity album jam for the last 2 years, and we had a wonderful track that came in, but it was so radically different from the original that I had to tell the artist, like, this is great, but I think it's a little bit too far out there, which is what they wanted to do. So in a way, they succeeded. But it's a rare problem, but just keep that in mind, where if you take something that's really iconic and you stretch it like too far, it's like it will break eventually, and then, I don't know, it's kind of like a tricky gray area.
To that point, though, if you really want to re-envision a song, do it.
Yeah.
But don't expect it to be licensed. Like, don't ever let, this is kind of my spiel, don't ever let licensability stop you from making the art you really want to exist, but be realistic about what that commercially can do, but make it. Don't ever feel like, oh, I can't license it. Whatever, make it. Just be realistic for what expectations you can do with release.
Yes, actually, or you could do something like Tim DeMann recently put out was it Tim DeMann? I think he put out an album that was like inspired by Zelda. So you can kind of market it as like, if you enjoy Zelda, you'll enjoy this original music. And that way you can kind of have the best of both worlds. Did you want to say something, Ro? Oh, you just looked like you had a question.
No, I just agreed with Lacey because that was really well put.
Good. I mean, Lacey's right, so you should agree with her.
Always, forever.
Okay, we're getting through. We're about 2/3 of the way through. Oh, we got a question. Yes, please.
Where's the line between derivative work and parody?
Where is the line? That's great. If you would just,
You found the one
Hold on.
weak spot. So
I'm going to use my lifeline real quick.
repeat the
Hello,
question.
Brental Floss? Where's the line between derivative and parody? That is not for us to decide. In a rare case that I've seen with the Marvin Gaye people suing Robin Thicke and Pharrell for their Blurred Lines track, $5.3 million awarded for a similar kind of what the kids call vibe. So I think that it was absurd, but apparently a jury, which I didn't know they could do this, jury said that it was a theft. But ultimately, a lot of this stuff, in the history and the documents, I'm one of the people that does read the terms and agreement and get to the bottom
you
and
for
see the
existing,
cute thing they
Mustin.
put in there sometimes. So if you read these, most of them are decided by a judge. And what if he got into a fight with his wife that morning? What if she had diarrhea that morning? What if they hit a dog on the way to work? Like, you don't know what their whole demeanor is going to be when they decide, well, Brental Floss, do you go to jail or do you go to the Hall of Fame? You don't know. So ultimately, you would just have to think about, can I say that this is a parody? And then when someone goes, why? You better have an answer. That's it. And go from there. Good luck in court. Call me. I want to know what happens.
I'm so glad Mustin was added to this panel. Yes, thank you. Thank you for that great question, though. And that is something, as I was putting this together, I did not even think about, but it is a really good question. That's why you're here, right? For the Q&A and also just to help us. Yeah.
Yeah. And I really appreciate an answer that gives me more
All right.
questions.
So, just like sampling, express written permission. So, we talked about Easy Song before. Easy Song is a company that does a lot of different things with music, but they have a department that's specifically for derivative licensing. So they can help you, in some cases, clear licensing with the original rights holder. In fact, there's somebody in the crowd right now that's dealing with it. So good luck. I won't say who. But yes, express written permission. But Easy Song can help you, so you don't have to try and track down, who the representative is. Carrie.
Here's a question. Are the recorded orchestral versions of stuff, is that considered a derivative work of the original version? Like, is the Disney World's Final Fantasy IV Lost being considered a derivative work?
Is a recorded orchestral arrangement considered derivative? if the company puts it out, let's say Final Fantasy, and I forgot earlier, it wasn't Columbia, it's Warner Chappell. Warner Chappell represents them, and then they put out their Final Fantasy album. That's not derivative. That's just some stuff they put out. Even if you have like that guy Ryan Adams do a cover of Weezer, it's just a cover, so you could cover that cover. And it wouldn't be derivative. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you put something out there, then that's what can be done. If you do an orchestral arrangement of Rydia and you release it to people, then that can be done.
If I'm also understanding, maybe the question is speaking to different instrumentation, maybe, because obviously Distant Worlds was, a phenomenal, larger, performance. So, if you listen to a Super Nintendo track, obviously it's made from chip or junk. And then, if I put it in guitar form, I don't know. It's not as drastic a change as the legal wording requires it to be. I think fundamental character of the song is the specific. I'm getting head nods from smart people.
Yeah, sound drop.
That I've been staring down the entire panel, so thank you. But that's not like a very obvious sentence, because it wasn't written in a time where we had this many kinds of music and people and internet and cars and TikTok wasn't a thing. So
How old are you, Ro?
I have lived many lives, Alan. So I guess to that point, obviously, like changing, the instruments that are used has not been a problem. I've personally seen, of course, but, when Alan talks about stretching things and changing, I think it's like when you don't even hear the song's, significant character in it. And this is all like still gray area speak and doesn't really answer.
Right, yeah. So like there's the fundamental composition and then there's an arrangement thereof. So there, da 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 da, you can take that and put it on a metal guitar, you can put it on a harp, whatever, and that's the same composition. When you start to change what those notes are, you're starting to leave what that original composition was. So that's where that gray area starts, and I don't know where that ends.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts is infamous for doing that too. The arrangements, rearrangements. Yeah. 2.8. Sorry, we had another question.
Does it change the difficulty if it's a derivative work in more than one way? I think like hypothetically added lyrics to a song as instrumental and also added verses to the song.
So
Sounds like you're
would it
starting
be
to write a
a
new song.
derivative if you change the basic format along with adding vocals? Nah, I mean, you're just doubling. I mean, it's just the same. Like
double
they
jeopardy.
would see it and be like, "This isn't what I didn't make this," and they would be like, whose vocals are these?" And I think that's pretty.
I don't feel comfortable saying yes or no, but I feel like it wouldn't make a difference because you're still getting the express.
It's still a derivative work.
Yeah.
If you want to know what a derivative work is, just listen to anything I've done or some of Rose here.
Yeah.
I took the crate, I did it in 4/4 drum and bass. You can't even tell. Like,
Let's do one more question, then we're gonna move on.
Outside of the actual musical aspect of it, what about taking original music and kind of like writing lyrics about a existing IP?
Oh God.
So, is it
We're moving
okay?
on. No, I'm just kidding.
Even if there's no melodies in there that are Zelda-ish.
Is it okay to take your own original music and then write words about Zelda? Yeah. I mean, those are they become just tales, man. Like, I mean, if I wanted to do a thing about like Beauty and the Beast, I mean, Disney went and did that to every kid's story that we've ever had. But I would say that if you don't sit there and go, I bet one thing would be like defamation. So you wouldn't want to have a song that goes, Link really takes it to Zelda tonight. Like, you probably wouldn't want to do that a whole bunch. Because then.
To tag in, like when you submit, there's a lot of FAQs about what will we take from distributors. And I mean, sometimes it feels obvious, but like you can go on the page and obviously the point of defamation, you can't put like hate speech or something terrible. But I do think if you couldn't reference real things or like products, like if you couldn't reference alcohol products, I think the country music industry would probably suffer. So,
Would collapse.
but
We're basically talking about the Proto Men, aren't we?
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, it's original music about the struggle of the Mega Man. I mean, they're fine.
Yeah.
In that realm.
But thank you for the question. We're going to keep moving, though, because we got, I don't know how many more slides. All right, medleys. This also was a recent change. So, again, I think it's still express written permission, but there is a workaround. If anyone recognizes, Robbie, what this is from, you can do a medley in such a way if you have sequential tracks, right? Yeah.
Excuse me, that is a suite, sir.
That is a suite, it's not a medley. So you've got to call it a suite, and then you've got to do it sequentially. So that's like the only workaround you've got.
It's a larger work from one video game that we
Sure.
used 5, 6 different tracks, and we licensed 6 different tracks. So there's no transition, whatever, between, like there's no 2 compositions in one piece. So we just licensed each one separately. But if we were to do like a YouTube video, it would be one big 6 movement video.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the process of doing that for my Xenoblade medley that I did. That was commissioned, and I can't release it yet because Xenoblade 3 OST is not released yet. But once it is, then I'm going to do each track separately, license it separately. So I'll be paying, for the 3 tracks. I'll be paying for the 3 tracks, not just one. But on YouTube, it's literally a medley. So that is the workaround. Yes, Rahul?
Where do you draw the line between reference and medley?
the question was, where do you draw the line between reference and medley? So do you mean, what's the difference between putting a small little like snippet of a song? Okay.
I think there's no real it's like set thing, but from what I've heard is like try to keep a reference to like less than 10 seconds.
Sound drop. Put you on the spot here, sound drop. What's the rule?
I think the letter of the law is if you use the composition, you use the composition.
Yeah.
These are all our little
We've
rules.
we've definitely bent that rule, but I think
know we
like,
haven't.
in the black and white, it's
Yeah.
like don't.
Alan's
Bad.
about. I'm so sorry.
Please.
Alan's about to get into like myths.
Yes.
That's one. No, 5 notes, 8 seconds. All that is.
We've been talking
The only thing that's really going to matter is that judge at the end of the day if something bad happens.
Yeah.
Or if like YouTube flags you. You just have to kind of deal with it. You know what to do to not get in trouble. All of you in here, you write original ass music. But if you want to play this game, you get ready to get your hands dirty, and at a moment's notice, YouTube's going to come with their ruler and whoop you on the booty. So that's really what it's about. But if you are a jazz band, a jazz people, sorry, rock boys, but if you're a jazz people, you know that people do this all the time with their jazz music, and they're playing a solo and they put the little Mario. Nintendo hates it, but they're not going to do anything about it. They hate anybody that plays any notes of their music, except that I've heard more than one people told me that they play the one-ups at the Nintendo World Store in New York City.
I don't know how we're going to follow that up, but thank you.
Let's blast through these bad boys.
Yes, let's do it.
No more questions.
No more questions. How to license
Until
an
the
album.
question
Too
segment.
bad. We don't have time. Okay. Really quickly, I think most people know who Sounddrop is. Also, Sounddrop is here. Rather than going through the options, we're going to talk about the distributor that we mainly prefer to use, that I prefer to use, because I wrote this slide. They're a digital music distributor. They distribute to many stores. It's 100% free to create an account. They take a 50% cut for sales, covers originals are only 99 cents a track. They do not distribute to Bandcamp, so don't ask them. They can't do it, okay? Although we can ask them now. Are you distributing to Bandcamp in the future?
They really want to, but not now.
They won't. They won't do it. Make them play hard.
How about tomorrow?
Send Mustin up there. Send Mustin to Bandcamp.
I will get in there and
Okay, Monday.
I am so pedantic and data. And then once you do that, do you know how much money you're going to make?
I know. Bandcamp's where it's at.
where's
That's where the real
where's-
setter's at.
Where's Mrs. Sounddrop? Because I want to tell her, get this done, get her done, so we can get it
robot?
done.
Soundra? Is that the name of the robot? Oh, look at this beautiful. How to use Sounddrop. Yeah, let's do that. Stand up, bro. Stand up. All right.
So, where do I even start?
And moving on.
Okay.
Okay.
In 20, well, fine. I didn't want to be part of your panel anyway. So, in 2012, Tara and I released The Dragonborn Comes on Louder. 4 ago. And another helpful person in the audience was basically the only way we knew how to do any of this. Information is extremely hard. Are you Academy Awards again?
Yeah, he just got catty.
You got Sonic underwater right there. You just got jams.
Fast forward to now, you have all of the resources to figure out how to do this because you are either at this panel or you can go on YouTube and look up my guide that, with the blessing of Sounddrop, because I didn't want to say anything wrong, I basically wanted to Bill Nye the process of a lot of what we're talking about. So if you're just curious, you're a visual learner, you want to see someone on the website with you answering what the heck is a copyright code or a publisher name or any of the, how to do revenue splits for my band members and all of the little details in between. I basically put together this video, and again, I still get a message now and then like, hey, how do I do this? Or, hey, could you walk me through this? And I've been lucky to walk through a lot of, VGM people's projects. Stop judging my drawings.
No, we love this part.
Oh, that's fine.
The point is, you can go watch the video, so do it.
Yeah.
All right.
No more questions.
Sounddrop tips. Sounddrop. Feel free to tell me if I'm wrong. The longer the album, the more time it will typically take to process. This is for covers. Original? No. They're saying no. Okay, I'm wrong about that. Forget that one. If you have questions about licensing, message Sounddrop before you submit your album. Got the thumbs up on that. Sounddrop allows for automatic splits between collaborators. Also, thumbs up. Sounddrop pays on a monthly basis once you reach a payout threshold of $20. Also, so forget the first one. Don't remember it.
Real quick.
And then
No
easy
question.
song.
I'm sorry, no questions from the audience, but I have a question. If you do have a question about licensing and message before, does that include a lookup of copyright?
What?
Does that include you looking up and seeing if you can license? If I ask, can you do this?
I mean, if you hit us up beforehand, we'll look it up and see if it's subject to compulsory licensing in the United States, and if it is, then we'll be able to get it done no problem with our partners, and if it's not, we'll let you know, and we'll have you search for a U.S. release to see if it's subject to that compulsory license.
All right, Sounddrop says they will work to get it done.
And
That's awesome.
They're
Thank you.
paying all of us here.
if you do submit, I know from experience, sometimes people submit unlicensable things and they're worried. You get refunded immediately, and obviously,
That's
it's
actually a
very
good
helpful
point.
with that. I thought that would be important.
They don't just take your money and run.
And and on the easy song licensing side, you can actually submit an album without paying for it, and it goes into their like slow queue. But you can find out if your songs are licensable
the
through
next
them
slide.
without paying ahead. What?
That's the next slide.
Well, I just said it. Speed run any percent.
Jumping ahead. Robbie's just kidding. What Robbie just said. Easy Song is another great resource. They allow you to get permission to use music and cover songs, blah, blah. 100% free to create an account, another important point. They allow you to purchase mechanical licenses. So if you are trying to release an album legally and officially on Bandcamp, that's a cover album, Easy Song is the way to go, in my opinion. And they also allow you to purchase sync licenses and derivative licenses, although these are much trickier. So if you're doing like Bandcamp or physicals, Easy Song's the right way to go. Also, as Robbie mentioned, because he was getting ahead, you can submit a project without paying for the project. So that was like a little trick that I was saying earlier. So if you have an album, you're like, I can't find an official release anywhere. What should I do? You submit to Easy Song, and then they will say yes or no. And then if they say no, then sad face. Or you go the derivative licensing route, which is trickier, but it is a route. There's not a Row video for this song. Really sad, Row. When are you going to make the Easy Song video?
I don't see them in the audience, so you tell me.
Yeah, they haven't paid him yet. So.
Come to MAGFest, ECS.
You must purchase licenses before the album comes out. This is really important. And you have to keep track of the licenses as albums are being sold. So if you only purchase, say, 100 licenses and you sell 500 licenses or 500 albums in a year, that's bad. Purchase more licenses before you run out. You do not need to purchase mechanical licenses for Sounddrop. I have heard this question before. because SoundDrop handles its own licensing. That's the beauty of SoundDrop. The only reason we use Easy Song is because we can't get Bandcamp licensing, or we can't.
Just
Are
to
you
clar-
doing physicals sometime, SoundDrop? That's not in the plans. It's not in the cards. They're shaking their head.
We don't have a warehouse. We're not dealing with any of that.
There's a future idea. I want to.
Uploads and recording, it would be super messy.
Okay, so someday. That's a to be determined.
That's pretty to go.
Okay, another Easy Song tip. This thing right here is really cool. It's called the Seal of Authenticity. I know a lot of people have used it. I know Tara's used it. This allows you to reorder licenses without the initial fees, which will save you a lot of money in the long run. So I would highly recommend doing that. You usually take about 3 to 5 days for licensing to be approved. I said that already. You can check on licensing. $200 for a 10-track album. That's a rough estimate. It gets higher if you're doing physicals, right? And you can another good tip is they do sales all the time. So once you're in their like mail list or whatever, they usually do anywhere between 15 and 30% sales almost monthly. So pay attention to your inbox.
So
Tara.
when in doubt, you can't find it on the website, call.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So, and that's not just for Easy Song. That's like for disc makers. I actually got a bit of a discount because I called and they gave me a little bit of like a 10% discount or something, just because they didn't have any other promo going on, and that still saved me some money. You know, if you're really trying to work with the budget, like you never know if you call, they might give you a little something.
I like that. Licensing myth. Okay, we talked about this earlier a little bit. If I release a cover for free, then I don't have to worry about licensing. No. We all have done it, but technically that's not true at all. Because there is a point, was it 9.1 cents per dollar must go to the original rights holder?
And now
it's
it's 12
higher
cents
now.
because
It's
of
higher
modern
now.
Is it 12 cents?
It's
Music
12 now.
Modernization Act.
Oh, crap.
I
I'm
read
outdated.
people's tweets.
Yeah, they passed.
See, I'm
they
learning
passed
stuff
that,
now.
so.
Man, who let me run this?
You made it.
So thank you. So now we're all gonna go broke because we only get whatever 88 cents now. If I find a cover on Spotify or other music platforms, that must be licensable. Not true. A lot of times, I don't know if it's like grandfathered in or what the clause or term is, but don't trust what you see as far as covers go. Always check. If I make a cover, I'm going to be very strategic about this. If I make a cover, I can give people permission to use it on Twitch or YouTube or whatever. It's a nice
If you
sentiment.
don't own the actual copyright for the original composition, or
I have
like,
seen-
you can't let people use your cover technically.
Yes.
Like they like maybe it'll clear them from like getting hit with DMC, like not DMC, but like getting in trouble with you, sure, but doesn't mean that Nintendo's not going to come after them. Like it doesn't safeguard them from that. So
Please just keep that in mind, because I have seen people that produce a lot of covers at I don't know how to put this, but I've seen people say, oh, it's fine, it's free, blah, 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 but it's not true. So just don't listen to them. They're wrong. I don't want to say names, but they're wrong. If I release the same cover twice, I don't need to license it again. You do. If I only use 5 seconds, 5 notes, we talked about this with Mustin. Mustin gave us a whole speech on how to, you're playing a dangerous game,
Dangerous game.
Dangerous game. This is not for the weak of heart.
Get your tattoo.
Yeah.
Get
Look,
your cigar
I
and
want tattoos.
make some video game music.
I started out 7 years ago. I had no tattoos, and after 7 years in VGM, I have all these tattoos. Licensing tips: get tattoos.
okay, for number 4, real quick, can I just like say something?
Yes, please.
So if you use SoundDrop and you release a cover as a single, and then you want to turn it and have that same exact sound recording
that's good.
as an album, you can do that without having to pay again.
Right.
But if the sound recording itself, like if you remix, remaster, the sound recording will be different and you'll have to pay that fee. But if it's the exact same thing, then SoundDrop lets you just add it to an album without paying again.
If you have the ISRC, that's the easiest way. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that. That's great. That's a good point. Licensing tips: always ask if you're insured. Okay. That's really good. Purchase licenses in bulk. So that means it's better to overshoot than undershoot, right? Bro, thank you for that addition. Consider different lists and databases to ensure that your song is safe. We talked about that earlier. An individual track, this one we have not talked about. In fact, we're going through this process right now for game groups, and maybe someday we'll publicly release this list of N64 games that have tracks that are licensable. But a lot of times, like for instance, like Kirby doesn't have a lot of officially released soundtracks, but Kirby tracks have made their way onto several officially released albums. So, if in doubt, sometimes if there's a track you really love, Metroid or Kirby or Nintendo tracks, ask, right? We talked about that earlier. Just ask around, and somebody might say, hey, I saw this album, and this track is on there, and then you can use it. Any other tips that we got?
No.
We want to open up for questions?
No questions.
Yeah, really quick. We got like 9 minutes. What did you say, Rustin?
I said no. Where are we?
We're at the end.
Q&A.
Q&A.
Yeah.
The Q&A. So we got a microphone up here. I am going to try and keep these responses tight. Hey, we made it to Q&A. That's
it.
good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Rustin, you have any more like war stories you want to tell us? Or?
I do, but I don't have time.
Okay.
I would want to ask one question. Does everybody know what a compulsory license even is? This person does. I don't.
Yeah,
come
come
see
up
me
to the
after the
microphone
show
if you have
because
one.
like
Sitting in the back raising their
there's
hand, probably.
there's no way I can do that in 9 minutes.
Yeah, please. Just tell people that it's a
One
thing.
sentence: to prevent monopolies, the Congress made mechanical license laws so you can use people's music without their permission.
Yes.
Yeah, the compulsory
Beautiful.
means that it's already set in stone. There's nothing that they can it's just part of the law. And that's why you have to abide by those specific rules to make it to make sure that that's actually it follows the compulsory mechanical license law because of all those things.
You still have to pay, but they have to sell it to you.
You have to pay now 12 cents, Rob?
Yeah.
No, 12 cents a tune.
That's
Inflation.
So, but then if you want to do a cover of Imagine for some dumb reason, you can do that, and then what you pay with SoundDrop, they'll put that money toward whatever you make off of it, which I can't imagine a lot because that song sucks.
Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry, I'm a big Paul fan.
It's okay.
Let's get some questions, yeah.
But yeah, questions. We got a microphone. Come quickly. We have 7 minutes, so we'll
And we
rapid
still have to
fire
take
this.
a picture.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi.
All right.
So my girlfriend is an inspiring streamer for singing. She wants to do like karaoke covers. That's a little bit out of the scope, but kind of also still fits in with some of this. If it's going to be like just live streaming and doing stuff, does she have any worries there, or is that still something she should be like going through this whole route?
Is she going to release them, or is she just going to like stream it?
Like stream it, but have it be like on YouTube.
So there's some workarounds to it, but basically, if it's like on Twitch, for instance, YouTube isn't this way, but Twitch is still a land minefield for singing streamers, and it's mainly just because of instrumentals. Mm-hmm. So I haven't suffered nearly as much as a few of my friends, but it's like I'm using my instrumentals that I've fully made, and even then, it's still like they could still like give you a copyright strike or other things, but there are some workarounds, and that's how like DJs get away with it sometimes too. But I can't speak entirely for the legality of it, but
Yeah, I just want to say again, just to be like, if you want to be absolutely sure, if it's not something you 100% own, chances are something could happen, right? You could get DMCA'd. That's totally plausible. So if you want to be safe, then you would have to only do originals, completely. That's the only way to be 100% protected. Yeah.
Like Tara said earlier, you don't own that copyright of the song, which I don't know if it was one of you two guys that said what a song is. Yeah, it was you, Rob. But you do technically own your sound recording.
Yes.
performance
Yeah.
of it.
So the other thing is she getting karaoke companies' arrangements to sing to, because those karaoke companies owning their sound recordings, and then you're dealing with two birds. You got to deal with freaking,
Original.
Karaoke Incorporated and freaking John Lennon again.
Leave Imagine alone.
There was a different panel that talked a lot about how to stream and do DMCA. So I would absolutely recommend going on YouTube and looking at the VOD of that, because the people on that are fantastically navigating that.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for the question. And you come up to the mic so we can all hear you, but yeah.
Yeah, so you said like that adding lyrics makes it a derivative work. Does that also apply to like the subtitles, like in, for example, one of Subversive Assets videos?
Oh, can I talk about that?
I really hope these.
Subversive Asset is a wonderful person. The question asked was a particular musician in front of ours creates covers of different songs, and these are posted on YouTube, and often writes an original lore-based kind of script. Sometimes there's dialogue. It's practically a cover story, and I definitely do not want to speak for him. So obviously, check this channel out if you're curious about this. But
it's a wonderful channel.
Essentially, his works that are released on YouTube fall into the same kind of gray area discussion where if you have not acquired a synchronization license, the first slide that Alan skipped over, that's not a slight to Alan, that much. But yeah, this is a gray area where he doesn't speak to the copyright holder saying, I'd like to make this audiovisual presentation. But if you were to go on Spotify, and incorporate that would be a derivative work, if it was narrated over the music. So, it's a phenomenal case where a unique form of VGM is not licensable as a result.
But yeah, I mean, that would fall, like where I was saying, that would fall under sync licensing. So it's like, it wouldn't be an issue for the audio side of things, because that's a video performance. But still, we love you, Subversive Asset, and please keep making those videos. That's why I laughed. Please come up. He's a wonderful man, though.
So what if I don't release a sound recording at all, but something in a different form? Like, for example, sheet music, or what I've actually done is code that sends numbers to a software synthesizer, which then would create sound. But the user would do that.
Are you trying to trick us? Is that somebody put a sleeper like a ringer?
I've done this. It's on GitHub.
Oh, no, it isn't.
That's a good question, though.
Yeah.
That's beyond me.
Well, for the sheet music thing, that's a completely different license entirely. There are a few websites that will try to get the appropriate licenses from the companies, and so that you can actually have that distributed and make money off of that. So one of them is Music Notes, but there's a few others as well that will actually secure the appropriate licensing for you. The other one, I am not sure. I have no idea.
I can create my own sheet music using Lilypond.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's not legal.
But there's still a license that needs to be technically done, even if you don't sell it. If you do sell it, you definitely need to have that to safeguard you. But
this is something to piggyback off of what you're saying. So we run into this all the time. So we have a brass band, and people come to us and they say, I want to perform your arrangement at XYZ thing. We can make all the sheet music we want for our own uses, but we can't distribute it, whether it's selling it or giving it away. Like we technically don't own that music, even though it's our arrangement of that music. And what you're saying about like programming something that will send whatever, you're basically just describing MIDI. So you're just elongating the process of, I've made an arrangement that's getting performed. I think it's all the same thing.
Thank you.
That was a great question.
Hey,
that's time, I believe.
Alan, I don't want to take over, but I would love. Hey, if anybody has a question, I've never not answered a question in 22 years of doing this, so I will be out there and answer all your questions until.
Yeah, we can talk.
And
later, but we gotta wrap
I want to take a picture with everybody. Steven, will you come up here? And everybody put on your mask and get like closer to the center. We're going to stand here and we're going to take a picture with this Polaroid camera, okay?
Woo!